And welcome back to the Just in Time podcast. I am your host, Justin Chute, and it's been a long time coming, but I'm back and I'm looking forward to getting in front of the camera with y'all and making content for you all again. This is season 2 of my podcast, and after having a year of experience under the belt, I feel a lot more comfortable and I've kind of got an idea as to how I want the show to go in the future. I used to want to mimic professional podcasters and sports analysts, but I grew to be a bit stiff and unrelaxed during season 1 of recording. I've come to the conclusion that I'm not experienced and I'm not a show with hundreds and thousands of followers. Now, I would love to get there one day, maybe one day, but I'm going to be loyal to my following and I'm going to try to make this little community that I have that supports me better connected, hopefully. And I'm going to try my best to make some good content for you all. I made this podcast with the intent of, mainly being a sports podcast, and season 1 dominated in that topic of discussion. For season 2, I want to iterate some new topics and branch out to not only what's going on in the sports world, but what's going on in my personal life and anything else that may come to mind. It'll be a lot more relaxed on the show, I feel, but, I think it's going to generate some great content and some great discussion nonetheless. For the season 2 premiere, I wanted to catch up on what we missed last time from the show. Lots of things have happened in the sports world. The NFL draft happened. The NBA finals start on Thursday, April 6th, which is tomorrow. I'm recording on June 5th. The NBA awards were given out. The WNBA is taking over Twitter and sports media. The men's basketball Olympic roster was announced. The NBA draft is quickly approaching. So lots of stuff going on in the sports world right now. We'll cover all those topics in the near future. But today, I wanted to preview the NBA Finals, talk about some draft targets for the San Antonio Spurs in the upcoming NBA draft, and I also wanted to talk about the brand new college football video game I have been waiting over a decade for. We have a special guest, Tacos and Touchdowns, joining the show in a little bit. Aaron helped me get into podcasting, and he's been great talking about all things football, and I've been a big fan of his work for a long time. I've been on 1 or 2 of his shows. So it's only right that, I try to get him coming on for the premiere of season 2. As for a little update as to, where I've been and why there hasn't been, any new episodes over the last few months, I've just been focusing on myself and my work. I was working as a coach for the last 6 months, and it was a very positive experience, I would say. I could see myself coaching again in the future, maybe one day. But for right now, I am focused on finishing my bachelor's degree strong and obtaining a college degree. You may have noticed also that I've dyed my hair blonde. I've had help from my girlfriend. I felt like she did an amazing job. I like it a lot for right now. I'm happy with it. So you'll be seeing Blonde Justin a lot as your host of the show for the time being and in the future. So, I hope you like that. I mean, I like it. Other than that, I've been super dialed in with watching NBA playoff basketball as of late. I was also super invested in the NFL draft and off season. I've even been watching some Women's College World Series for softball. That's been a lot of fun. The Texas Longhorn softball team has been on fire, and they're really fun to watch. They play, I think it's tonight. They play their first game tonight versus Oklahoma and the Sooners. They're looking at 4-peat, so it's going to be some fun softball to watch. That's for the World Series for them, so whoever wins ends up winning the whole thing. So that'll be fun to watch later tonight. But yeah, with all of that out of the way, we're now going to transition into the sports content of the episode, Season 2, Episode 1 of the Just in Time podcast with Justin Chute, featuring Tacos and Touchdowns. Here we have our special guest today, Tacos and Touchdowns. Aaron, how are you doing today, my man?
I'm doing good, bro. I'm glad to be on your show. Yeah, I just see definitely great work you've been doing on your show. Yeah, keep it up. That's all I got to say.
I appreciate it, man. It's been a long pause. I've been dealing with work and stuff, working on myself, but I'm back here making content. I'm happy to do it. I'm way more confident this second time around, and I'm definitely looking forward to it, man. I've been dialed in with all the sports knowledge.
I definitely see it, and then we be going chatting it up. So I definitely know you're ready to get back into it.
Yes, sir. So first things first, I wanted to talk about NBA Finals preview today. As you know, it starts tomorrow, June 6th. We have the Dallas Mavericks representing the West, and we have the Boston Celtics representing the East. Some quick things out of the way I wanted to talk about real quick as we preview both of these teams. Boston had the best offensive rating in NBA history this past regular season, and I think people kind of fail to realize that. That starting five that they have is a really strong starting five. I believe it's the best in the NBA. And before the season started, I had Boston as my preseason pick to win the championship. And I'm wearing green, so I don't want to – I'm not no Boston Celtics fan. I'm a Spurs fan. But to say I didn't have Boston winning it all this year would be kind of crazy. Dallas, they've had an incredible playoff run. They defeated the LA Clippers that were missing, I think, Kawhi Leonard. They beat the number one seeded Oklahoma City Thunder, and they also beat the number one defense in basketball and the Minnesota Timberwolves. And the Timberwolves are really good. They beat the defending champs in the playoffs. So their playoff run has been, more impressive to say the least than the Boston Celtics. And Lucas led the league in scoring in the regular season, and he continues to do that in the playoffs. So with those few things out of the way, I kind of want to get your grasp on how you think this series is going to go, what you think of both teams, anything that, jumps out of mind to you.
Yeah, when it comes to this, I could see this series going to Game 6 or 7. I don't see no blowout. It's two really good teams. You got two teams that got two really good backcourts. You got with the Dallas Mavericks, they got Kyrie, they got Luka, of course. And then you look at the Celtics, they got Derek White, Drew Holiday. And then the superstar on the Celtics, Tatum, and then you got guys that are like the supporting cast, like the Jaylen Browns, Daniel Gafford, PJ Washington, guys like that. So you got some good starting lineups, and then they got some great depth pieces on the team as well. So, and then the thing is, you got two coaches that were guards in the league, and that's kind of a big thing when it comes to head coaches. There's a lot of point guards going to head coach, and they usually succeed because they were natural born leaders and stuff.
Yeah.
So that's one of my other things. And there's kind of a few homecoming things in there. You got Kristaps Porzingis coming back after the injury and stuff. He's playing against his fellow Latif. I can't even pronounce the country him and Luka are from, but he's playing against his fellow countrymen. So a lot of storylines in this game.
Yeah, and that the coaching thing is something I didn't even bring up at all. And it's Jason Kidd has had a hell of a playoff run. Out coaching some of these coaches that he's gone up against. I mean, he out coached Mike Malone. Wait, never mind. He didn't do that because they didn't play the Nuggets. But he did out coach Chris Finch and the number one defense in the Minnesota Timberwolves. He out coached the Coach of the Year winner, Mark D from the Oklahoma City Thunder. And he had some success against Tyronn Lue, and all that is really impressive. Now he gets to go up against Joe Mazzulla, who is a very smart mind. Boston has a strong front office and just strong ownership in general. They always have the right guys, coaching the teams and managing the teams. But when we get down to Fort Dallas, the main thing that I kind of see against them is how many threes they're going to get versus Boston's blitz type defense. And Boston's defense, they really focus on taking away the three ball from the opposing team. Dallas has been super effective this entire playoff run due to their ability to hit three-pointers, from Luka to Kyrie to, even the role players that have broken out like Derek Jones Jr., PJ Washington, and Josh Green. They all focus on hitting the three ball and getting their points from the perimeter. Dallas also runs a lot of pick and roll, and the roll mans get a lot of the action. Rookie big man Derek Lively has been so impressive this entire playoff run so far in his rookie season. At times he's kind of looked like a young Tyson Chandler to me. And fun fact about Tyson Chandler, and for those of y'all who don't know who Tyson Chandler is, he was on the 2011 championship run with the Dallas Mavericks. So he's, that's been his team. Tyson Chandler has been heavily involved with the mentorship and development of Derek Lively. So the resemblance that I'm seeing between the two of them, that's just teacher and student right there. But yeah, I'm really curious to see how many 3-pointers Dallas is going to get versus that Boston defense, because it can be a lot. You got Drew Holiday and Derek White at the guard spots. They can both play defense at a very high level. Both of them are on all defensive first and second teams at some point in their career, I believe. I think Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are more than capable of switching on defense, and they're both very tall. They provide a lot of length on the wing, and they can get them hands up, and they can get some steals and stuff. And then you got the big man back, who, he's been resting the last 2 playoff series, it feels like. Kristaps Porzingis is back, 7'3". They're really going to need him for his rebounding this series and to hit some open threes whenever they can get that while they can. But for Dallas, I think Luka Doncic is going to be the best player in the series. He will probably continue to be the overall leading scorer, but I'm interested in seeing how he does against this Boston team that has a lot of firepower on both sides of the ball. And so, yeah, what do you think about Dallas so far? You think they're going to make a big run in this finals? You think they're going to have a chance to win?
They got a chance to win, but the starting team's got to be on all cylinders, and the role players got to be on all cylinders off the bench, like the Josh Green and other players. It just can't be Luka balling out, and it just can't be Kyrie balling out. It's got to, because they're playing against bigger players as well, like Kristaps Porzingis, guys that can stretch out in the court that can shoot threes. So the defense has got to definitely step up, and they got to put points on the board because this Celtic team is loaded with talent. That's why a lot of people had them going to the NBA Finals.
And, it's kind of cool to see Kyrie Irving go back to Boston and to play his former team, and vice versa for Kristaps Porzingis going back to Dallas, and he's going to play the Mavericks, who they didn't work out in those previous times. So it'll be a lot of fun seeing those two. There's a lot of storylines going on in this playoffs. This just looks like it's going to be a great playoff series between the two of them. I can definitely see this game going 6 or 7 games just because of the competitiveness of the two teams. For Boston specifically, they've gotten a lot of criticism this playoff run for having an easy path. They've had to play teams that haven't been fully healthy, and that's not their fault. They defeated the Miami Heat with no Jimmy Butler. They beat Cleveland, and they had to go play without Donovan Mitchell or Jared Allen. Then Boston went on to beat Indiana with an injured Tyrese Halliburton and no Benedict Mathurin. So nonetheless, Boston has been taking care of business. They've been the best team all year long. They've been the best offensive team of all time, according to their offensive rating. I believe they have the best starting 5 in basketball. Drew Holiday, Derek White, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Kristaps Porzingis. That lineup switches well. They can all shoot the 3 ball and play defense at a high level. They're tall, and I think they're a lineup that's been amazing to watch all year long. Boston won the 2 regular season matchups versus Dallas earlier in the regular season. In the second game, that's where we kind of see this Dallas team that we have right now. This was after the trade deadline where they made the trades for P.J. Washington and Daniel Gafford. So that same Dallas team, that's what we're going to see now. Boston won that second game. So, all right, we're back. Sorry about that delay. No worries, man. No worries. Boston won those 2 regular season matchups earlier in the season. But overall, I think Boston has been waiting for this moment to go all out with their lineups and let their stars play freely. I think Boston's star wings match up very well versus the wing defenders of Dallas. I think Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum are, just too good for Derek Jones Jr. and P.J. Washington to be able to stop effectively on the wing. I think Drew and Derek White are going to have their hands full trying to guard Kyrie Irving. And, the whole Boston team's going to have their hands full trying to, slow down Luka Doncic and his scoring presence and what he's able to do with playmaking and just being a positive factor for the Mavericks in general. But I had the Boston Celtics winning this NBA championship at the beginning of the season. I have them winning in 6 or 7 games. I think what Boston really has to do in the offensive end is just, they got more firepower. So run 5 out, stretch out that Dallas defense, and just, let the score score. So I got Boston winning in 6 or 7.
6 or 7?
Yeah.
I got Boston just overall, that's how they're set up as a team. This team is destined to win the championship. And when you think of Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, they need that championship to have on their resume, because that's the thing. Like, okay, they're really great players, but they haven't won that championship to put in their career. I'm not gonna say solidify. They're still young. They're not even 30 yet, so they still got plenty of basketball left in their careers. They need that championship almost a championship belt, but championship overall.
Yeah, after the moves that they made the last few years, after 6 or 7 straight times of making it to the Eastern Conference Finals, or just being in that spot. You've been to the finals a couple years before. You play the Warriors and you lost. This just feels like the time for Boston to shrug off all of this. We can't win a championship, and they're going to do it. I feel like this is the perfect opportunity for them to go and do it. But, Dallas is a scary team. Luka is so motivated. They've been playing their best ball as of late. They could very well easily win it themselves too. So it's going to be a very entertaining series. Yeah, I mean, I know the whole media right now is like kind of wanting Dallas to win, and I get it. Their recent play has been remarkable, but I still got Boston.
Yeah, you also got to look at when it comes to the bigger markets. A lot of them are in New York, so they don't want to see a Boston team win the championship.
Yeah.
You got to look into that. But for both teams, they were both aggressive in all season, and during the season they add additions to this team. It's not like they just like, okay, we're going to stick with this. No, we're going to some more firepower so we can make that push. So that's what you see. You kind of a lot of teams are probably going to take that formula and try to put it into next season because it's kind of one of those copycat type of leagues. You see this team doing really good. They're not just building like let's have a whole bunch of really good players, but we don't have really good bench. Let's have some supporting cast. Let's have really good depth. Have 2 stars on the team, and we'll go from there. Kind of like how that used to be like in the 2000s.
Yeah, definitely. So we're going to transition into some of the NBA draft talks. We're going to mainly focus on the San Antonio Spurs today and their draft targets. The Spurs have 4 draft picks in this upcoming NBA draft. They have 2 first-round picks and 2 second-round picks. They have picks 4 and 8 in the first round, and that's pretty exciting for a young team like San Antonio. Last year, they had the number 1 pick. They landed their guy. They got Victor Wembanyama, who had a phenomenal rookie season. I'm very excited as a Spurs fan to watch him play every single night. It was so much fun going to the games and watching him play live. He's everything and then some, bro. Like, he is so good, and his potential is it's infinite, man. He can do whatever he wants to do. So this draft is so important for the Spurs because this dictates how you want this team to be with Victor Wembanyama. Do you want to go mainly offense and put some guys around him that can just give him the ball? Do you want to emphasize defense and switchability? Do you want to emphasize size and draft some wings and bigs? But they have 4 picks total in this draft. They have 2 in the first round, picks 4 and 8, 2 picks that are in the lottery. And I've had some slack from a lot of NBA analysts and stuff like that saying this is a weaker draft class, but I rebuttal and I say that this draft class just doesn't have that star guy right away. You don't know who that star guy is going to be. This kind of reminds me of that Giannis draft where guys were taken, but Giannis ended up being the best player like 3 or 4 years later in the future. So I kind of see that being the same way for this draft. There's obviously some guys that I think are going to be better than others, but do you have any guys in that range of 4 and 8? Because we have, first round pick 4, first round pick 8. Do you have any guys that you would like to see on this team?
Yeah, I actually looked at 2 point guards right now because we need that point guard that can be that facilitator on this team. I like Trey Jones, but I think he's better as that second string point guard. So 2 guys that came to mind is one's on the undersized guy. I think I know you're talking about, and that's Ron Dillingham, who said he wants to be a Spurs. Kind of that Lou Will type of guy. He's 6'1", 165, but he's a playmaker. Overall, he was coming off the bench at University of Connecticut, over 15 points per game. Had almost 4 assists, so he can get the ball, and he's a good shooter as well. He's just a little bit on the undersized. Has a great shot selection. He's kind of that guy you want to see coming off the bench. The kind of guy that can heat up and get you about 15 to 20 points per game. But when you think of the Spurs, that'd be nice to have, but you want that starting point guard. So the starting point guard I'm thinking of is Stephen Castle out of UConn, who can play both the 1, the 2, and the 3. He's that kind of guard. He's 6'6", about 210, and he's an overall player. He can play. He's not worried about getting points. He can be the one that can facilitate the ball to Victor Wembanyama and Vassell and guys like that. And he has that good size. So if you want a bigger lineup, I would go with the Stephen Castle guy, and that who can create his own shots as well. But he's overall, I'm trying to get that ball out to my teammate. And if there's opportunity to make a shot, I'm gonna do it. So that's what I'm going with in that 4th and 8.
Yeah, I mean,
overall pick.
Stephon Castle, and a bunch of mock drafts I've seen throughout this whole process, he has definitely been a fan favorite for Spurs fans. I feel like Stephon Castle would be a phenomenal pick for the fit of this team. You're right. He's 6'6" out of UConn. He was amazing his freshman year over there. They won a championship. He's awesome, man. He can play the point guard, shooting guard, small forward. He has said that he wants to play point guard, and I'm cool if he wants to do that. But, he brings size, he brings defensive versatility, and he has that star upside. I look at him, I think he's going to be a star in this league someday. The only thing you really want him to work on is his shooting because he's not the greatest shooter in the world. That's where I can kind of pivot and say if you want shooting, then you can look at guys like at the guard spot. You can look at Reed Shepherd, who's a little more undersized than him. He's like 6'2", 6'3", but phenomenal shooter. And, he can put the ball on the floor. He can play make at a high level. He plays defense. He was amazing at Kentucky. And then the other Kentucky guard that you talked about, Rob Dillingham, he was also very good at Kentucky. More of an offensive threat, a guy that also has star potential on the offensive side of the ball. But, that thin frame, I think he would be, all these guys I think would be great fits next to Wemby because that's just how good of a player Wemby is. It's just, how do you want this team to go out in the future? I think some other guys that they could look at that are not guards, if they kind of want to get a wing first, would be, I think Zachary Riceasher out of France is probably their number one guy on the big board. I think he's like 6'9", 6'8", and he can shoot the ball very well. He can play make when he needs to. He's kind of a guy that you don't want to be your main star guy, and that's fine because whoever we draft doesn't have to be that when we have Wemby. We just need him to complement his game very well, and I think he could do a lot of those things at a high level. He kind of got he's a very good player. I think he's going to be a pretty good wing in his NBA. He kind of reminds me a little bit of Kyle Anderson a little bit with his playmaking that he can take on at sometimes. Another guy that I like as a wing is Matas Buzelis from the G League Ignite. He was also very good, very athletic, very young. He played in the All-Star weekend for a little bit. And he was playing against some of the rookies and sophomores in the NBA, and he hit a game winner on Wemby's team. He's pretty legit. So I like his game. There's some other guys that are around the pick 8 that I think the Spurs could look at, like Cody Williams from Colorado. That's the younger brother of Jalen Williams who played for the Thunder this year. He's very good. He had a great freshman year. Devin Carter from Providence, a more undersized guy that's getting looked at as that eighth pick spot, and that teams are, he got a first round. He's got a lottery promise. So that means a team in the lottery picks 1 through 14 promise that they'll take Devin Carter. So he's been getting a lot of noise. Other guys that are up there like Ron Holland from the G League Ignite, he was really good before he got hurt this season. Tijane Saloon from France, I think, was also a guy that he's had a personal relationship with Wemby growing up, so he's been rumored to the Spurs. And a guy that I like that hasn't been talked about enough to the Spurs, and I'm cool with that they take a wing with their first pick and they want to go guard with that 8th spot, is Jared McCain out of Duke. I love Jared McCain. That kid can hoop. He's been winning since high school. Everything he set out to do, he's done it. Great shooter, great defender. He brings great size. He's like 6'4", 6'5", can switch. I think he'd be great to put in and just mesh well with his team. I really like him as being one of the safer players in the lottery. We'll see where he goes. I know he's been looked at as like the 10 through 14 range. But I wouldn't mind seeing the Spurs reach a little bit and going to get him. Is there any second round guys from this draft that you could want the Spurs to take a fly on?
Yeah, there's a guy. I was just watching this film. He was a wing out of. He played at Texas. He was at University of California. I'm trying to think of his name.
Yeah, Jalen Tyson.
Yeah, I was looking at his film. I was like, I could see him on the Spurs being that early second round pick. That could be a good role player for this team. Potential could kind of be a rotational type of player. Maybe occasionally, if he needed him to start, he'd be a good fit for that team because he both plays offense and defense. That's kind of what we need, some more versatility, who can move around. So that'd be a good fit.
Yeah, I got him on. I got him on my list too, man. I love Jalen Tyson. I think at one point he was committed to Texas, and he was there for a year or so, and then he went to Texas Tech, but then he switched his commitment to California, which is where he ended up at last season. And he was a dog in California, man. He was like he was a 4 or 5 star out of high school. You knew he was a bucket, and went out for California, and he proved he was so much more than just a bucket getter. He can rebound the ball effectively. He can be a dog on the defensive side. He has a little bit of playmaking to his game. I'm a big fan of Jalen Tyson. I would be more than ecstatic if the Spurs took him with that early second round pick. Sorry. There's some other second round guys that have my interest as well. But is there anybody else that you saw from the second round that you feel you could take a fly on?
That was like the main one I was looking at. I kind of been focused on the first round, but I definitely started looking at some second round guys. I was really trying to see what would be some good first rounders. Was there like any other second round guys I need to be looking at?
Man, there's a few. I mean, a lot of, you look at a lot of mock drafts and a lot of big boards. Some people have guys higher than others. But I got a few guys that I watched over this college basketball season and I fell in love with. I think Kyle Filipowski out of Duke, he's a big man, kind of plays at 4 or 5. He could come in and play pretty well alongside Wemby. He could shoot the ball. He could post up at a pretty good level, gets the rebounds, plays defense. Pretty good ceiling you can get out of that guy. Harrison Ingram out of UNC, very big wing, like a 6'8", 6'9" wing, rebounds the ball at a crazy level. I think he was leading the league. He was leading the team in rebounds and stuff, and he had one of the best big men in the nation on his team. Baylor Shireman out of, I think he played for, I think it was Creighton. Baylor Shireman played for, but that dude can stretch the floor. He was like a 6'7" point guard. He was like a 6'7" wing, but he would like play make a lot. He had the ball in his hands a lot of time. He was a lefty. He shoots the ball at a very high level, can switch on defense. He's someone I think like Pop, if Pop got his hands on him, he would just find a way to, be super effective for this team. I am a huge fan of Jamal Shead out of Houston. I had the chance to play against him in high school, middle school, and growing up, and he was the best player in our district. And I knew he was going to be a star. He goes to Houston, and everything that he's done this year has been no surprise to me. He was doing all that stuff in high school. He is a dog on the defensive side, great leader, someone I think that would play amazing next to Wemby. He dives on the floor. He's a teammate guy first. I like Jamal Shead's game a lot. Did you watch any Houston this past year in college basketball?
Yeah, I'm actually a fan of Houston. They play really good, effective defense, and I'm glad that name missed for some reason. I was like, dang, when you brought him up, like that would be a perfect Spurs type of player. That is.
Yeah. Honestly, it's a name that goes under notice in this draft. I feel like there's just so many guys. I mean, that's just the NBA now. There's so many guys that are draft eligible that could go in and be effective on your team. Even if he ended up not getting drafted, which would be a shame, but I think he'll find a way onto an NBA roster and he'd be pretty effective for him. I also like Kevin McCullough out of Kansas, a wing that kind of got hurt this past year, but 6'7", could kind of come in and just be a 3-and-D guy for us, someone that we need, toughness. He's on the older side, so he's like 22, 23. He'd come in and he's got that age to him. You don't have to, put him in the G League and let him develop for like 2 years like they like to do. And the last guy I want to point out is AJ Mitchell, who played at a smaller college, but broken hoop. I really like his game. There's a lot of guys in this draft I think people are, they haven't put their time and effort into, and that's fine, because it's the second round, but that's what the championship teams do is they don't just hit on the first round picks. If you're able to hit on your first and your second round picks, like we got 4 picks in this draft. If we hit on 3 or 4 of these guys and they're all rotational players, then you're winning. You're winning because next year the Spurs have like 3 or 4 first round picks, and that's a stack. Next year's class is stacked. There's like at least like 7 superstars in that class.
Yeah, and then look at the Spurs. They find guys that they don't even draft. They're kind of like drafted guys that do really well with the Spurs with the G League team. You find them in some, like you look at Champagne. I'm thinking of some other guys like. I lost train of thought, but they always have a good rotation of players and stuff.
I remember with the Kawhi Leonard era, and we had like LaMarcus Aldridge, and they just found Jonathan Simmons, and Jonathan Simmons was like crazy for like 2 years for us. I love Jonathan Simmons.
He brought that energy on the team that we didn't have.
Yeah. The Spurs always find guys like that. They'll find guys out of nowhere. They take them in. Like Derek White was one of those guys. The second round pick or undrafted. Just found his way to the Spurs. No, he was a first round pick, I think, late first. But we took him in, developed him, and now he's playing on the best team in basketball. He's playing for the NBA Finals tomorrow.
Yeah. Then you think of who else? We got Mamu, and Dominic Barlow. I don't know. Did we draft him or did we?
Barlow, I think he was an undrafted free agent, so we just signed him.
Yeah, he's gonna be a good rotational player. He's still like only 19 or 20 years old. So imagine what he can do in the next 2 to 3 years.
He's young, he's bouncy, he's athletic. I'm looking forward to his development. Last thing for this draft stuff is it's pretty notable to point out that the Spurs have expressed interest in trading up for the number 1 or number 2 pick in this draft to select Alex Sarr, who's potentially the number 1 pick this year. The big man out of France, or Zachary Rice-Asher, the wing I talked about, picking at number 4. The Spurs have been very much linked to him. What are your thoughts on potentially getting Alex Sarr and Wemby paired up together? That'd be like a Twin Towers setup with kind of similar to Tim Duncan and David Robinson, or putting Zachary Rice-Asher on the Spurs and throwing them into this young core that we got right now.
Yeah, either one of those guys would be a good matchup just to have on this team. I know it'd be a big selling point having the Twin Towers with Sarr and Wemby. Sarr's like 7'1" and Wemby's 7'4", 7'5", and they're overall that'd be a good Twin Tower match. But having a really good wing, the guy out of France, that'd be a good thing. We need to have a wing, and we also need to have that point guard. But if there's that big man that's available for us, if we trade up, you can't say no to that because you could because they're not just these guys that can just do post and move. They can stretch the field the court out as well. So having either one of those guys, if we traded up, wouldn't be a bad.
Yeah, I agree, and I think something also to point out for the Spurs is that they have money. They got cap space. So, say you wanted a point guard that was more established and that's making a lot more money. Someone that I've been a big fan of my whole life, Chris Paul. Seeing some bench minutes on the Warriors. If you really wanted to bring him on, the Spurs need veteranship. They could pay him the $30 million that he's making for 1 more year because he only got 1 year left on his deal. I think that lines up perfectly for us. I know the Spurs have also been, rumored to shopping Keldon Johnson. I'm not sure how I feel about that. I was a big fan of Keldon and his, progression as a Spur, but I can point out that last year's fit was not perfect with him and his team. Oftentimes he was the odd man out. He got pushed to the bench towards the later part of the season. So interested in seeing how that's going to play out. If the Spurs were going to make a trade for, a star young point guard like Darius Garland or Trae Young or anybody like that, Keldon Johnson would probably be the starting point of that trade talk scenario. But I'm looking forward to that NBA draft. It's going to be quicker before we know it. It'll probably be here at the end of the month. A lot more trade talks and mock drafts and all that will be coming soon for sure. But for this last part of the podcast, I want to talk about the new EA Sports college football game coming out, man. It comes out on July 19th. If you pre-order the $100 or $150 version, you can play it early on July 16th. I know me, I'm going to buy the $150 version because it comes with Madden, I think, too. So I just felt like it was a good deal. Getting the new college football game, getting the new Madden. Just get it both knocked out right then and there. So tell me your thoughts, man. Are you excited for it?
Yeah, I'm absolutely excited. It's been a long time coming. Literally, I remember when the last one came out, I was still in college, and that's been a cool minute. But that's neither here or there. But it's one of those games that are just timeless. I know the defense of Madden, but NCAA football is up here when it comes to football games. The quality, if they keep that same formula, but add on to keep it current. You got the NIL deals and all that stuff. The road to glory is one of my favorite parts of the game, and then develop pick a team that like University of Buffalo and try to have them become like the number 1 seed in 5 or 6 years. finding those 5-star recruits and try to convince them to go, oh, come play in the MAC for us. Or that's the piece I love about the college football game. And 10 years later, now you get this game back. I don't blame people for getting that game early because it's just been so long since we've seen that game. It's one of those top tier football games.
Yeah, one of the biggest things that I love about college football is just the pageantry and like the game day experience, what you experience on campus, the presentations, when you come into the stadium, the atmosphere, the fans, the traditions. I love all that about college football. I love some of that in NFL. Like I love when the Chiefs do their skull and their fan environment. I'm talking about the Vikings. I love when the Chiefs do their thing. They copy Florida State and they do that thing. I love that. But I mean, it all starts off with college football. I love college football. If I had to pick college football or NFL, I'm going to pick college football. But I love football in general. I've been waiting for this game for over a decade. I still play it to this day, man. I'm so looking forward to, hopping on with my friends, using all these different schools that I haven't been able to use this whole time. Not having to create the players myself is something I'm very thankful of. I remember spending hours making all the rosters the right way so I'd have the current guys on my team playing. Man, I'm looking forward to – I like to take over, like you were saying, you like to take over like dynasties that haven't won at all and turn them into the next Alabama or the next dynasty that's just winning. I would love to do that with UTSA. I would love to do that with like Texas State and some of these smaller schools like that. But yeah, I mean, I'm just super excited for that game. We'll definitely be pre-ordering it. We'll definitely be playing it a lot. I might have to start streaming some games because I feel like that could be some good content.
Oh, yeah. Everybody loves that type of content, especially with that game coming out. You may reach a new audience for sure on that.
Yeah.
I might have to get that game. I'm not going to lie.
Bro, I have a friend. That's an A&M fan, and I'm a Longhorn. So you already know they're like total opposites, and we hate each other. But we argue about those teams all day, every day. And now I can't wait for when this game comes out just to be like, well, come on. I got the Longhorns, you got the Aggies. Let's roll. Let's see who wins.
Yeah, I got to definitely stream that game. You're gonna have all that fans pulling up that just want to see that. I'll definitely say do it before the actual game starts because I'll get both sides of them hyped up. I'm a UT fan, so
I'm looking forward to it, man. It feels like in the summer, it's kind of when we get that dead period where, only thing that's on is like baseball. But, with the Olympics coming out this year too, it'll be a lot of fun to cover and do all that. But this college football game, man, when it comes out, oh, man, I'm just so excited. I'm going to be playing the crap out of the game for sure.
I don't blame you. And the first team I thought about just seeing is like LSU seeing Death Valley on the game and stuff like that. They need to put that hype video they had when they won that championship run again, some type of way. Because sometimes I listen to it while I'm at the gym and it gets me hyped up. That's why it's served.
Yeah, I would love if there's somehow like in future updates or stuff they can put in like the classic teams, old college football. Like we want to see that Joe Burrow, Jefferson, Jamar Chase LSU team. We want to see that 2017 Alabama. We want to see teams before that, teams that were very good that didn't have the chance to get their own college football game.
They gotta be in there some type of way. That gap between 2013 to now, you got to put some of those classic teams like that didn't get the opportunity to be in the game and stuff, where you didn't have to create those type of teams. You got to have all that just for nostalgia value that we missed through them that 10-year period.
Last thing before you go, my man, I wanted to quickly ask you are there any college football teams that you're excited to watch this upcoming season?
Of course, the UT, of course, UTSA, some other teams. That's a good question. Overall, the SEC, now you got OU and Texas involved and stuff. I want to see how the Big 12 looks since we're out of there now because they got some good quality teams still in there. They got OSU, they got Kansas State, they got Colorado in the building, they got Utah. I want to see how the Big 12 looks now. And the Big 10, I respect the Big Ten, but I'm more of a SEC Big 12 type of fan, to be honest with you. And a little bit of the conference.
Yeah, me too. I think the SEC is better than the Big Ten, but I gotta respect it because they put out a lot of NFL talent over there, and now they brought in Oregon, so throwing Oregon into that mix of contenders. Penn State will be good. Hopefully USC is good, but we'll see because their lines of scrimmage is just not that strong, unfortunately. But yeah, I'm looking forward to a lot of Texas football this year. I was high on them last year. They had a good year. Hopefully this is a year, we got Quinn back. O-line's looking strong. We reloaded incredibly with the receivers. Hopefully it's another strong year for us. We play some tough games. They play Michigan week 2. They play like Georgia week 7, right after playing Oklahoma. They play A&M at the end of the year. But before that, they played like Kentucky and somebody else that's pretty tough. They got a tough schedule. And they're going to have the work cut out for them. But I'm definitely looking forward to college football. A lot of change. 12-team playoff. You're right. Big 12 is going to be a lot of fun. When is the Big 12 not fun? It feels like, any week there could be an upset. Any week there can be, a new team breaking out. A lot of fun over there. Definitely interested in seeing how Colorado does. They're not a favorite over there, but, you know what they're capable of because they have 2 of the biggest superstars in college football. But yeah, man, I'm looking forward to college football. But yeah, this has been it for the episode 1 of season 2 of the Just in Time podcast with Justin Chute. Thank you, Tacos and Touchdowns. Thank you, Aaron, for joining the show, man. It's always a pleasure to get you on. I will definitely be looking forward for the next time, brother.
Yeah, absolutely, bro. Appreciate you.
Yes, sir. All right, we'll see y'all.